Hello all, welcome to today's class. I am Sushma D, your tutor from GFGC, Shira. Today we shall continue discussing a beautiful lyrical poem by Sarojini Naidu entitled Indian Weavers. Before we start analyzing the poem, let us have a quick recap of the previous class. We discussed pertaining to the poet and about the poem and the use of literary devices in the poem in the previous session. So let me quickly brush up all these details now. Indian Weavers is written by Sarojini Naidu and her period is 1879 to 1949. She was born in a Bengali family in Hyderabad. She pursued her education at the University of Madras, King's College, London and Cambridge University. She is the first Indian woman to become the President of Indian National Congress. She is also a freedom fighter and a social worker. She joined the Indian national movement in the aftermath of the partition of Bengal in the year 1905. Her first work is Meher Munir and the first collection of poems titled The Golden Threshold. She earned a sobriquet Nightingale of India or Bharat Kokila. She died on March 2, 1949 at Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh. About the poem. The poem has been taken from the poetry anthology The Golden Threshold, written by Sarojini Naidu and published in the year 1905. It is a small lyrical poem consisting of 3 stanzas having 4 lines each and rhyming couplets in each stanza. The rhyme scheme of the poem is AA, BB, CC, DD, EE and PB. The Indian Weavers makes a reference to the traditional Indian practice of weaving and its practitioners. The poem makes use of symbolism and vivid imagery to comment on the important stages of human life and the passage of life itself. The poetic devices like simile, metaphor, images, repetition, alliteration, and consonance have been employed to enhance the text's poetical appeal. The poem can be folded into 3 parts. Each stanza represents the 3 stages of human life. Each stage represents childhood, youth, and old age respectively. Or more appropriately, birth, living life, and death appear to have been signified as the 3 stages of the cycle of life. Nonetheless, we find that the poem has been structured in a question and answer pattern. The poet asks 3 questions to the weavers and they answer accordingly, to put it simply. However, in the questions and answers lies the temperament of the poem. The poem describes the different stages of human life, that is birth, marriage and death. In another way, it talks about the life cycle of a human being, which means childhood, youth and old age. The poetess asks 3 questions to weavers and relates their answers to life. Thus, without wasting much of our time, let us start exploring the poem Indian Weavers by Sarojini Naidu. Weavers, weaving at break of day, why do you weave a garment so gay? Blue as the wing of a halcyon wild, we weave the robes of a newborn child. In the first stanza, the poetess says that weavers started their work in the early morning, that is the dawn, and they make bright garments in blue color as the wings of the kingfisher. When the poetess asks the question why they make a pleasant garment at the dawn, weavers say that they are weaving the garment of a newborn child. So here, dawn represents birth and it relates to the childhood of a person. The childhood is more attractive like the blue color. And thus, the break of day and blue as the wing of a halcyon wild are going to refer to the first stage of human's life, that is childhood, which is very bright and happy. Weavers, weaving at fall of night, why do you weave a garment so bright? Like the plumes of a peacock, purple and green, we weave the marriage veils of a queen. So in the second stanza, during the fall of the night, which means evening, the weavers weaving attractive garments in purple and green color like the plumes of a peacock. When the poetess asks the question why they were weaving such a beautiful cloth during the evening time, they say that it's a marriage veil of a queen. This suggests the youth of a human being. Youth is the golden time of life, which is very energetic, enjoyable, and very attractive. During this stage, humans are quite active. They love each other, get married, and quest for better life. The colors purple and green symbolize sorrow and happiness, or struggle and ease in one's adult age. And these colors also represents ups and downs of life, which makes the adulthood bright. And thus, fall of night, that is evening, and like the plumes of a peacock, purple and green, are going to represent the second stage of human beings, that is the adult age or the youth, which is very bright and colorful. Moving on to the last concluding stanza. Weavers, weaving, solemn and still, what do you weave in the moonlight chill? White as a feather and white as a cloud, we weave a dead man's funeral shroud. So in the last stanza, in the moonlight night, the weavers' attitudes change. They become really serious and calm. The garment is white in color, like the feather of a bird and a cloud. When the poetess asks the question, why they are weaving solemn and still in the moonlight chill, they tell that they are weaving the cloths of a dead man's funeral shroud. Night. It clearly indicates the old age of a person. The white colored feather and the clouds are carrying the statement that the end of life had come out from the feathers of wings. Now it has no use and the cloud is moving. After a few minutes, we can't see the cloud in the actual place, which signifies death. So, in the moonlight chill, white as a feather and white as a cloud are going to symbolize the old age, wherein everyone moves towards death at this particular stage. Conclusion. The message being conveyed by the poem is that of the perpetual motion of life, that each stage is characterized by its unique emotions, lasts for a while before the next one comes along to take its place. The major use of symbolism in the poem is that the threads of a person's life are woven by destiny or fate, which is represented by the weavers in this particular poem. It is the fate who decides the time of birth, the length of youth, and the time of death of a person. Thus, the contextual meaning of the poem may be the weavers weaving garments and a shroud for various occasions, but symbolically, the poem represents the cycle of life and death, with the threads of each stage being woven by the fate. Such a beautiful poem she has written by highlighting the traditional weaving practice of Indians. I hope that you have enjoyed this poem to the fullest core. That's all for today's session. See you in my next class with another interesting poem, Departmental by Robert Frost. Thank you, one and all. Keep listening, keep practicing, and stay tuned always to score good marks. Thank you.